Welcome to the Billy Shultz Music Podcast.
Trying to connect with somehow. I don't know why. Of course, today I decided to do that.
Of all days, right? Cool. Well, I'm Billy, man. It's nice to meet you. I appreciate you taking the time to, chat with me here.
Yeah, man. Nice to meet you.
I just wanted to, I usually kick these off. I just ask everyone to, tell me who you are, where you come from, kind of start me from square one with what you do and give me some backstory on you.
Yeah, I guess what do you want to know? More of like career stuff or?
Yeah, so start me from obviously you've been playing guitar for a while. I'm assuming you started when you were younger. I was checking out your bio online, and I know that you've got a lot of educational background. Like, what really wanted you to get started? From the very beginning. What kind of inspired you to pick up the guitar?
So yeah, my dad plays, and I grew up with him playing in a band. He played in a cover band. And so there's always guitars around and amps. And since I was a kid, and, I remember going to rehearsals of his, and he played around the fire and stuff when we go camping. And so it was always kind of there. And even though I never really played, I always kind of considered myself a guitar player, even when I was a kid. I always wanted to kind of get more into it. And then, so he taught me a few things here and there when I was between the ages of 8 and 12 or something, and never really stuck around, never stuck to it, just kind of as a kid, and always had it in the corner of my room. Of course, I'm drinking something carbonated right now, so
it's all good, brother. No worries.
And yeah. And that turned into getting more into it in high school. I had friends, my neighbor, who was my best friend, his brother played drums, and my friend was a little bit older than me, and so they had a little band together when I was junior high or a freshman. I don't really remember. Anyway, so that kind of drew me into actually picking up the guitar and playing it, because there was a possibility of having friends to play with. And so and then we started a band, and just all through high school we always rehearsed at my house or my buddy's house, who we kind of met friends from around the area who played. And so I always had bands in high school. And then after that, I thought I wanted to do the touring in the van thing with at the time it was metal bands. And I did that for a bit, but I didn't like the fact that I had to work a shitty job as well. Mm-hmm. Working a shitty job that I hated and then playing music on the side. And so, when I was in high school, there was a music teacher that was always very proactive about getting us to go to see different colleges, and especially ones with music programs. So that was always in the back of my mind. So I did a year between high school and college. And then during that time when I was working a lot, and a job I hated, I decided I was going to go to school for music, and then did that. Moved up to Minnesota, moved to Minneapolis, St. Paul, attended McNally Smith. That was a lot of fun. Learned a lot in that amount of time. I did some years at a community college beforehand, so I kind of got my college stuff, the partying, out of the way. So when I came to McNally, I was more, I stuck into the practice room and didn't really hang out. And I played in bands and I gigged, but I didn't party. I just really focused on music, and that really helped, solidify a lot of my career, I think, because it kind of set me up for success as far as after the fact. Because I think if I would have went straight out of high school, I would have been a shit show. I think I would have. Mm-hmm. I think I would have.
Yeah, you need a couple year buffer there.
I kind of got it out of my system. Yeah, I got it out of my system. So by the time I went to music school, I was I think I was 21 or 20. So I kind of got that out of my system. So which was good, because then I did really well at music school as far as grades and stuff. And then finding work. And then after that, I was really close with some of the teachers there. And so after I graduated, I got called to come back and teach within the next year. which was kind of bittersweet because one of the teachers there had quit and moved to California, and he was like my like buddy. He was like my friend, like my, I guess it's kind of weird to call like the teacher I got along with the most. We were like really close, like we were buddies. And so he quit, and then they hired me, and I was like, oh, this is kind of weird, but it was cool. I mean, and he was really cool about it. He wasn't digging Minnesota. He wanted to move back to California where he's from. So, but yeah, so I was there for however many years and gigging a bunch on the side, teaching a bunch on the side. And, yeah, it's kind of set me up for what I do now, which is teaching and gigging. And then, there's a bunch of other random stuff. It's so weird. Like my whole, I mean, you probably know this too. Like my whole music career has kind of been, oh, did you just lose me? Oh, no. Very good. It showed that my video went away for a second.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like lagging here and there, but I mean, as long as the audio is fine, like the video we'll make, it'll be fine. We'll make it work.
Cool.
And the audio's been good.
Good. And yeah, man. So like just a bunch of stuff all at the same time. I've never really done anything that's been the sole full-time thing. When I was at the college, I was, adjunct, and then I was gigging in several groups on the side and doing a little bit of studio work. And then I had a bunch of my own students and so on and so forth. And then that place closed down, and I started a lessons business in town, Minneapolis, and do that. And lots of wedding gigs as of late have been the thing. And teaching online, and I teach at an arts high school, a couple classes a week. So yeah, it's kind of like, it's always been like 5 things going at once.
That's kind of the name of the game now too, though. As musicians, it's like there isn't really going to be one thing that's going to be the breadwinner, for most of us at least. And so it's most people I talk to, that's what we got our hands in 10 different things at once, it seems like.
Right. It's kind of, you have to do. I would love to get to a point where one of the things is like substantial. Be great. But it's always usually been like almost evenly divided. In a way, I mean, teaching as a whole has been a lot of my income, but not from one source necessarily. I guess when I started the business, at that point, there was a lot of most of my income was coming from that because I had a lot of my private students through there. But as I've kind of gone back to gigging more and developed the Instagram and online presence more, I've kind of steered away from. I'm still running the business, but I have people working for me who teach lessons, and then I don't really take any of the new incoming students because, I mean, it's way better to teach someone who's actually interested and forced into it by their parents or something.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Were you planning on teaching as you were learning and like as you were going through college? Like, was that something you knew was kind of in your future, or did that kind of come about like once you got done?
Yeah, good question. So I started doing it as income in college. So in college, the first thing I did was join a band that actually had paychecks, so a band that was making money and gigging regularly, as opposed to like in the past, I was in original bands, and you would just play every show you could get. Sometimes you'd make $50 as a band, and sometimes you'd make, maybe a couple hundred as a band. And so when I first moved up here, I got into a band that was like, they did originals, but they did like the 4-hour cover thing. So that was some nice part-time income in college. And then I started teaching on the side as well as some extra income in college, which what I thought was amazing because previously, like my high school jobs and my like, that break between college and high school, those jobs were like jobs I hated. Like they all sucked. So like the idea of gigging and teaching guitar for money, I was like, this is great. And that wasn't necessarily the plan. So like after I graduated, I was teaching and gigging equally. And I was gigging in like a lot of different groups. And that was kind of my idea. Like it was like gig and open up the prospect of moving to LA or Nashville. But then that year, like right away, that old teacher quit. And so they called me and they were like, hey, the head of the guitar department there called me like the same day and was like, "Hey, do you want to teach at McNally?" So that kind of like led me down the path of, continuing teaching as kind of the main thing. Because once I did that, there's that, all the wheels start turning. You're going, well, this is building my resume. So that means now that I've done this, I can maybe get into other teaching positions if this goes away or something. And that's exactly what I did. So yeah, I don't know if it was conscious, but it was always an option. It was always like this, when I was in college, I was very, some of my friends were very like, they knew what they wanted to do. Like, I'm going to gig. And I had friends who were like, after this, I'm moving to Nashville, or after this, I'm getting an internship, or I'm going to LA, or I'm getting my master's. Everyone was like dead set on what they were going to do. And I was like, I just want to make money doing any sort of music. I mean, I'd be fine teaching or gigging or, studio stuff or whatever. I just wanted to do anything that I could. As long as I was playing music all day, then I was happy. So I kind of opened the doors that way. Yeah. Whereas other dudes, like I have a buddy who like, he would have much rather, and it's paid off now, but he had many years of working jobs he didn't like, because he was like, I hate teaching. I hate playing in cover bands. I'd much rather just work a random job and just shed drums all day and like do studio work for bands I like. And that's what he did for a very long time. And then he ended up getting hired for a really, really good gig because of that, hard work. He was posting drum stuff and online and doing studio work for random bands, and then it paid off. But he didn't want to teach. He was like, I'm not even gonna lean down that road. I'm not even gonna lean down the cover band thing or any band that wasn't like basically metal. He wanted to do metal, and he's a phenomenal drummer, and now he's doing really well with it. So, but I was definitely more like opened up the door for anything. So that's kind of how teaching was more of like I would do that. And then I kind of went down that road.
Makes sense. Yeah, no, makes total sense. I mean, teaching isn't, not everybody's cut out for teaching. Like some people, they love it, or it is there. It's an extra source of income, and some people just, it's not their thing at all. So everyone's different in that way.
Yeah, man.
Your time at McNally, what do you think is like
a lot of teaching? Because I've seen.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you do a lot of teaching on YouTube, and do you do stuff outside of that?
So for me, no, it was the same kind of thing. Like I really wanted to get into, working jobs I hated my whole life. I wanted to get into the, some sort of content creation and be able to make my money that way. And I was like, everyone, YouTube's here. This was back when Vine was still around, kind of was around the time I was getting into it. And I was like, I need a way to make content, and I play guitar, and I love songs. Endless supply of content is just doing tutorials on YouTube. And the first five or 10 videos I made, I got lucky because nobody had done tutorials for those songs yet. And those songs just so happened to blow up. They were by these like underground hip hop, rap, SoundCloud artists. And that's been kind of like what has really pushed me back into, because even then I was playing guitar less. I grew up playing in bands and playing guitar when I was a teenager, high school, right out of college, but I'd started to kind of play less. And then doing the tutorial thing on YouTube has kind of been what over the last few years has really pushed me back into it, and really has had me pick it up more. But I don't take students or anything like that as of right now. I'm not opposed to that, but it's kind of the same thing with you. It kind of just like happened. I was trying to find out what I wanted to do and how to make this work. And then what was working, I just kept doing it,
Right, dude. That's like the key. Like what's working, keep doing that.
Exactly.
That's like my life story. I was like, this seems to be going well. I'll keep doing this.
Well, no, and I love it because the internet will tell you, when you're posting on social media, YouTube, I mean, people will tell you what they want to see. I want to see you do a tutorial of this. I want to see a lesson on this. And it's like, if they're telling you, do it. Most likely likely people want to see that same thing.
Right. And then like the likes and follows and stuff are also strong indicators in that regard as well. And that's kind of like, that's exactly because so the Instagram stuff is I only started doing the like strict lessons, not strict, but like 99% lesson stuff, like in January this year. And
Yeah, and that's blowing up for you right now, right?
Yeah, it was that. It was like but it's going really well. Yeah, and because a buddy of mine on the way back from a gig was like, he played guitar and sang, and I was like, yeah, I've been thinking about doing more lessons stuff. Like, and I was telling him some topics. He's like, you should, man. Like, you should really do some more lesson stuff. Like, he's like, at the least, it would help me because he's like, I need some of that stuff because he is a singer first, guitar player second, and it was a long drive. So we were talking about it, and then I just was like, I'll just do like 10 of them one day. I just like spit out like 10, and I posted them, 10 days in a row or whatever, and they went surprisingly well. So I was like, I'll keep doing some of these, see how they keep going, because for years, I literally just posted. I mean, I'd post myself playing and random lessons. It was like no consistency. It was like, random lessons here, random guitar playing here. Here's a guest solo here. Here's one of my solos from a song. Here's a riff from one of the songs I wrote. Here's a video. And it was just like no consistency, just kind of all over the place. And it was going okay. But there's just so much of that, I think, on social media that it was like I was just kind of blending in with everyone. Mm-hmm. And it was, I think I got to like 10,000 that way, but it took like 5 years. And then as soon as I started doing the lessons, which funny enough is way, way easier, way less time consuming. Like it takes, 15 minutes to talk about a 60-second topic. Whereas like trying to get a good take of a solo to post on social media was like 2 hours. It's like, mm-hmm. So as soon as people started liking it, I was like, sweet, this makes social media so much easier for me. Because I can talk about guitar all day.
Exactly. I was like, I'm sure that's probably a small little gold mine for you, because you're like, I got endless amounts of like 15, 30, 60-second clips in my brain I can just shoot out. Right.
And then once I've been trying to develop a groove, because I've been watching old ones, and I was like, just simple stuff like talking to the camera like you're talking to someone. Because earlier it'd be like a little bit more monotone. So I'm trying to develop that more and be more clear with stuff, because it's surprising how many people not how many people. It's really easy to notice the negative comments, even though they're like the rarity. But yeah, so one thing I'm working on is trying to be more as clear as I can. Because sometimes if I got like one iota information, someone's like, that's not how you should explain that. You forgot to explain this. It's like, well, it's 60 seconds, man. Yeah, it's hard to get that out in 60 seconds.
People are quick. People are quick to jump in and be like, well, actually, and you're like, I can only do so much in this small amount of time. Or I may have said, this note and it was this note. Like, I'm trying to just spit this out for you guys, you're going to miss something every now and then.
Well, yes, but like there's so many factors when you're creating it. It's like fitting in the right information in a limited amount of time, and then not forgetting some information, because sometimes you'll say stuff and it's like, oh, I could have mentioned this, and then someone points out, oh, this. It's like, yeah. But again, it's like they're short, especially the Instagram thing. It's like now I guess you can do longer ones. They changed it, but for a while there, it was like 60 seconds was the max. So it was like trying to get everything out.
Yeah, I figured that out the other day.
The topic.
They changed it to where it's all reels now, unless your video is like longer than 10 minutes or something.
It is all reels now. Interesting.
Yeah, because I was trying to because I post clips of the tutorials, to Instagram as well, and like usually I kept it around like 60 seconds. Then I was like, if you want to see the full thing, go to the YouTube channel. But now they're posting that as reels, and it's not in that format anymore. So I'm like, shit, like it's not the 9:16 or whatever. I'm like, okay, well now I got to figure that out. But I think it's like 10 minutes or more is when you can post an actual. Yeah, very strange, very strange. So you said you're still gigging though. Are you gigging with like a specific band? I saw I listened to some of the music, like your solo stuff, and I think your other band was called Ideology. Is that right? Is that what you're still doing?
Yeah. So I, Ideology was a studio project sort of from the beginning. It started, so that band is like, it's all the music that I wrote. that and actually my solo project is actually ideology music. So the My Solo album is not all of it. I would say 75% of it was music meant for ideology. But the drummer, so it was a project started between me and Charlie Engen, and Charlie, shortly after the band released our first album, he got hired by Scale of the Summit to play drums and went on tour with them a few times. So we didn't gig much because he was touring in an actual band that's been established. And then, shortly after that, he got hired by Five Finger Death Punch, and now plays for them. And so I was like, well,
solid gig.
It was kind of a studio. Yeah. So and it was started between me and him, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna keep it going in the sense of like a gigging band. We still have plans to do singles here and there, and he's really gung ho. I mean, he loves the band, and he's really gung ho about still doing it. It's just a matter of like, I don't think it'll be albums. I think it'll be like a single here, a single there. And our singer Wesley is kind of a core part of the band too. It's kind of us three. I write the music with Wesley, meaning he writes the melodies and the lyrics, and then Charlie throws his drums down however he wants to. And so there's that band, but that's kind of studio. And then my solo project is just when I can do it. I have plans to do a second album that's going to be more fusion and less prog metal. But I only barely have started that. I got to get that one off the ground. Probably be a winter project. I tend to, in Minneapolis. Where are you located at, by the way?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, you're in LA. Okay. Yeah. So in Minneapolis, the winter is going to hit and there's not much to do. So that's when I recorded my last album, was in the dead of winter.
Well, you're locked in for weeks at a time.
Yeah. I thought about doing it this summer, and then I realized like, no, it's too damn nice out to, that's how it feels when you're in the Minnesota. It's like when summer hits and you're like, no, I got to get outside. I've been cooped up. But there's that. And then I gig in a band called Chester Bay. I've done that for years. They're like a pop rock band with some reggae and blues elements. It's an original band, but they do covers too. We just played on Friday, and do like kind of smaller festivals, and been playing with them for quite a long time. And then a lot of calls, like random calls. So I do a lot of weddings that I get called for. I do like, a couple, I don't know how many, a dozen or so, maybe more, like 10 to 20 or 30. I don't even know how many. I do a lot in the summer, sorry. A lot of weddings, and which are really easy. They're actually so easy. It's like, but it's a band that's kind of got a roster of people. So they just like send random people from the roster an email, accept or decline. And then you show up and everyone's got charts, and it's random people every time. Like it's a new group every time. So it's kind of fun that way, because it's like you get to play with new people all the time, and it's sort of the same collection of songs. I mean, it's like the top 40. It's like this, as far as I think most places go, it's kind of like the typical top 40 style cover gig, but it's a wedding. So I like playing weddings because they end early. You get free food. It's good food, and you get free booze all night. So, and it's easy. I mean, you're not playing hard stuff, I'm playing like the same songs, and most of the time it doesn't even feature guitar. I'm just sitting in the background playing like a popcorn thing over a Dua Lipa tune or something.
Well, and it's pretty good money too, right?
Yeah. Really good money. So that helps. It's really, I mean, it's yeah, I've actually been really enjoying them, because I don't really go out on the weekends. So it's kind of like, oh, I get to see friends I haven't seen in a while, play some tunes, get some free food, get some free beer. It's
kind of like your social element.
I get to do that a lot. I have 3 or 4 more this month to do, and then I do those a lot, and then church, and then random calls. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's kind of all over the place. It's like, summer, every 3 months is like a different experience. It's like past 3 months is like the summer season. So it's a bunch of weddings, no classes from the high school where I teach at for obvious reasons. And then even less lessons, but more lessons from like Instagram people. who sign up because they have the time off, and less from younger kids. And then school year hits and it's classes and less, which I kind of like. I like the every 3 months, it seems to be like a kind of shift in what I am doing on a day to day.
Makes sense. Yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah, I mean, when you build the network the way that you have, it's like, you have those, just so your reach goes into so many different areas. So it's like, you can do the gigs or the lessons or it kind of like molds to the way that you want it, is what it kind of seems like, right?
Yeah, and it's evolved, into a nice spot where in the past there were moments of like uncertainty during certain times of the year, like where, I don't know, like summer would hit and you'd be like, oh crap, 6 of my students quit for the summer,
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't get as much of that because there's a lot of different things, once summer hits, it's like my energy just goes somewhere else, and it works out. So yeah,
Makes
man.
sense. Yeah, absolutely. As someone who, you've got a, formal education, and, you also teach private lessons, do you think any one is more beneficial than the other? Like for someone, because personally, I'm starting to look to go back to possibly get a degree with like a guitar performance focus, but I don't know if that would be more worth my time, or if it would be finding someone who can just do the one-on-one thing. Because I would call myself very much so like a intermediate player. Like, I'm nowhere near professional, and I'm trying to, increase my skill set, but I've been kind of, I don't know whether to go back to school, which I'm not opposed to. I think that would be great. Or if it would be more worthwhile to talk with someone one-on-one and like really get direct lessons.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think about it all the time. And it kind of comes down to goals. And so I have to talk to, hey, I teach like juniors and senior high school students all the time, and they're always asking about college, and it always comes down to like, what are your goals after the degree? And as much as it sucks to say, like, how are you financing it? Because, from experience, student loans suck, and especially
100%.
especially a private music school student loans, which are unfortunately really high. Like McNally's gone, and McNally, there's only so many jobs. One of my buddies always has it this way. He's like, I love the degree for me as a musician and my soul. Like, I feel like so much more. He's like, I know more. I feel more accomplished as a musician. Like, I understand everything. I feel really good about my playing now. He was like, but it sucks for my wallet. He was like, I hate it. And he was like, he's like so torn all the time, where he's like, as a musician, it feels great. And he's really happy he got the education. But at the same time, he's like, it's hard because like music degree isn't a prerequisite for a lot of music jobs. But when you do it and you really do it, like, the amount I learned in music school, like, let's say here's where I started guitar, and this is like what, 6-7 years after, and I just started music school. And then that 3 years at music school, it was like, wow, just like I improved so much in those 3 years at music school. It was outrageous because I just spent the time. So the benefits of a music school are obviously like the outrageous exposure to all this material, and you're constantly in it, and you're constantly practicing, and you're around like-minded people, which is great, and you're jamming with them, and it's a networking thing, and that part's really great, and it's really fun. It's a cool hang. But there are definitely ways to get the education part without it. Like, not to market Fretboard Biology, but like that's kind of that company I work with, fretboardbiology.com, which is he was the head of the guitar department at McNally Smith, and then he took the entire curriculum and then put it in Fretboard Biology. So like something like that is like an amazing resource, and it's the same education that you would get.
Yeah, no, definitely plug that, because I was looking at that too, and it looked very interesting.
Yeah, it's that's where it becomes difficult, because even me and him have had this conversation. It's like, it's so affordable to take that and you're getting the exact same education. But then it's like, then you weigh like, well, am I looking for the education, or am I looking for the experience of being around all those musicians and jamming? And, at Berkeley, if I feel like if you're not planning to go like to the actual school, like MI or Berkeley, and actually be there in person, then something like Fretboard Biology is like, it's awesome. Cause then you can work with a one-on-one person through the program, and you're getting a college education that way, but for way cheaper. You're not getting a degree after the fact, but you're getting the same education. So then it's like, kind of like, what are your goals then there? Like, are your goals to have a broader understanding and just feel better and just have that under your belt playing wise as a musician? Or do you want the degree? So then you kind of weigh like, well, what does the degree actually get me? Like, what jobs require this? Well, teaching requires it most places, especially in a school level like college or high school or whatever. But a lot of those require masters now. So then you have to consider, do I go get my master's then after the fact if I want to go into teaching? And then there's I've thought about this a lot. And then there's the factor of like, how many of those jobs are available? Those jobs, I've had two of them, one at a college, one at a high school, and they were like luck, I swear. So the guy quit. There was no openings. The guy quit. They called me. That was the only job opening that they ever had in the time I worked there. And I got it. And no one else, there was never a job opening after that. And there wasn't one before that. And then the high school, I got incorrect information on an opening at a very similar named school. I contacted the wrong one because I thought the person was telling me there's a job opening at this school. I thought they were talking about the one that I work at now. So I went in there and I found the head and I contacted him and said, hey, heard there's a job opening. This is my resume. Blah. And he goes, actually there is. Yeah, we'd love to hire you. And only after the fact did I find out that I contacted the wrong school. But it's hard because there's just not that many. That's a hard thing with like education in the area of needing a degree. Like, you don't need a degree to go teach at a lessons school, which they're great as well. And you can make good money that way. But yeah, so there's so many factors, and
complicated.
It's complicated. Yeah. So it's kind of like, but I do think the two things to consider are like, what's my actual goal out of this? Is it the degree or is it the knowledge? If it's the knowledge, you can find the knowledge outside of the school, or is it the experience as well as being? Because like, there's some networking that happens at music college that you can't get anywhere else. Mm-hmm. It's a crazy experience. It's super cool, and I loved it. So there's that, and then that's obviously the financial thing. Like, it's like, it can get expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive as hell.
Yeah, so there's that too, where it's like, shit, like, do I want to spend that money? Because like Fretboard Biology, you do that whole program in a couple of years, and you'll spend a year is like $300. You could get through the whole program. It's not quite finished. He's still finishing the latter higher levels. But there are four levels out. The fifth level is going to be out soon. 6, 7, and 8 are done, and then they're going to be released. But it's like so much freaking information. So when that's done, it'll, you could do that for under $1,500 if you fly through it. Probably under $1,000 actually. Once it's done, but yeah, man, long-winded answer, but it is a complicated subject.
No, 100%. No, I appreciate that. That is super helpful. Is there anything that you want to like plug, or, Fretboard Biology? I know that you're helping with that. And I know you're doing the music lessons thing. Do you want to drop like your social links, your website link, music, whatever you want to like promote or throw out there?
Yeah, literally everything about me is on my website, and in Fretboard Biology, there's actually a link on the front page of my website. So MikeSalow.com. Salow is weird. SALOW. MikeSalow.com, and that has all my social media links. Has the link to a nice discount for the first month of Fretboard Biology. So, but it's the specific link. You have to use my link that's there. And then on there, I got some lessons for sale that are like pre-recorded. There's my original music, including ideologies on there, and my solo stuff. And then the links, if you want the most out of the lesson stuff that I do, I post most frequently and have the biggest following on Instagram. But I do tend to share that stuff on TikTok and YouTube as well. It's just not as consistent. I definitely design the content for Instagram, and then whatever will work on the other platforms, I will repost on the other platforms too. I've been trying to get into the YouTube thing, and I've been like telling myself like, damn it, you got to do a YouTube video this week. You got to do a YouTube video this week. So that's something I plan on doing.
The shorts work, man. The shorts, I mean, there are plenty of people who they get millions of views with the shorts, you know? So I don't know that like a traditional YouTube video over a short is any better. So, I mean, as long as you're sharing them across all the, all three platforms, I think you're in good shape. But again, I'm not sure if there is any like a big difference of like, how the algorithm works between the two. But you got an awesome setup, man. I appreciate you taking the time again, brother. And it's been fun. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Sounds good. Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
You too, man. See you later.